How people work has been completely reimagined in the past year. Technology platforms like Zoom that could have taken years to achieve widespread adoption saw it happen overnight. The way we work has changed, and many people don't expect it'll return to the way it was. HR professional Leath doesn't think it should go back, and she thinks the Wilmington region needs to shift its traditional ways if we want to compete with talent from other regions. Please join me in welcoming Lisa to the stage.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you so much for having me. Like Rob said, my name is Leath. I've been in Wilmington since 2008. I've got the pleasure of working with many of you in the room, and I'm glad to see your faces today. I'm an HR consultant, and our team actually works across all different industries, all different sizes, and predominantly our business is in the Wilmington region. So we know a lot about what you guys have been experiencing and what you're trying to plan for. I can take this off. We understand what you're trying to plan for. My philosophy has always been people first, always. And so as we think about what we've collectively just gone through, the rapid digital transformation, some of us in business have struggled tremendously. We've lost business, we've lost employees, we've closed businesses around town, some of our favorite restaurants. And then some of us have done really well through COVID, and our business has increased. And we work with several businesses who have grown tremendously through COVID. But collectively, what we have in common is people. And our people are our engines. And so before we start planning for this post-COVID workplace and what that's actually supposed to look like, I want to just talk about the people and what they're thinking, what they're planning. I think we opened up by saying, how do you feel? What do you want to do after COVID goes away and we can move into this new reality? So we need to be thinking about what the people want. So the first thing that I want to do is just touch on a couple of stories. They're real stories from real people in our community. And I think it'll give us a little bit of an idea on what we're kind of dealing with as we talk about what our people want. So firstly, this is Madison. She worked at one of my favorite restaurants that closed during COVID. She picked up a customer service job and is working 2 jobs now, never got maternity leave. This guy, Sam's a graphic designer. His coworker got COVID. He picked up all the slack, worked 80 hours. He missed his kid's first home run at baseball. Derek had a wife who actually died at the hospital because of COVID. They would have had their 10th anniversary, and now they're missing a trip that they had planned for an entire year. Katie's employer is strongly encouraging everyone to get the vaccine. She's struggling with that because she has had some personal issues with infertility. Jake was the office social guy. He was missing the camaraderie of the office, and he actually saw a teledoc and went to therapy, got on meds 6 months ago. Michael is a manager of a newly reopened downtown Wilmington bar. Just like a lot of hospitality leaders and owners, he struggles with the balance of hiring people back and then employee and patron safety. Angela has been caring for COVID patients. She continues to bear a tremendous emotional burden and thinks about suicide daily. Carrie put all of her money into an event planning business, and when weddings got canceled, her business tanked. She basically cashed out what little she had saved in retirement. She's interviewing at 62. And Laura hasn't missed a day in the chem lab since COVID started. Nobody said thanks, and she's thinking about a career change. So it's not all doom and gloom, but I do want everyone to realize that people have had their experiences through COVID, and that's going to continue to carry on even though we're like over it. So, I think that we cannot go back. We all know we can't go back to the old way. We've heard from an architectural and a downtown and a student perspective what that looks like, but what is this new way? And by the way, everybody's is going to be a little bit different in the room. But again, what we all have in common as we transition into this new way is that the people continue to be the engines of our business. So let's consider what the people are telling us. So I love, Charles, by the way, your informal survey was pretty much spot on. You said 55% of people want to prefer remote. These are studies from SHRM, Society of HR Management. Number one, we know that 52% of workers prefer remote. And this is a very recent survey that came out last month. That means that the other half actually want to go back. So that's kind of an interesting thing to consider. And we'll dig into each one of these points in the next couple slides. Number two, 40% of people have said they're not going to get vaccinated. So how does that impact how we do business, right, moving forward? And then number three, COVID has brought about this really beautiful thing where people are admitting and sharing and saying 73% of us want a greater shared purpose with our employer, and we want deeper community connections. That's really, really good. And we're going to talk about that and how easy it is to implement as soon as you walk out of the room. So number one, 52% of people prefer remote. The good news is we kind of figured this out by now, right? Hopefully. So we've got the policies, we've got the practices, and if you're annoyed with remote because you don't think people are being as productive, I think you should just at least take an introspective look at, hey, have I done a really good job setting expectations and checking in with people on a regular basis and making sure that they understand like how I feel about how they're doing, and do they have feelings about how they're doing? Number two, somebody mentioned that we're the #1 inbound city in the United States. I think this is a particularly important fact that we need to spend some time touching on. All of our new neighbors are from somewhere else. They are predominantly professional folks. And so, you know, they're sharing with our people, our talent that we don't want to lose because it's expensive, right? To lose talent, go find some new talent. They're sharing that they're able to work 100% remotely, and our talent is learning about some new national brands that maybe they didn't know about. And so if we are, you know, particularly averse to staying remote, but we've got half of our workforce that's telling us they prefer it, then just be, you know, at least be aware that your folks may be taking a look at the companies their neighbors are going to work for. Secondly, let's talk about our new neighbors. Hey, let's get to know them. I said before, they're predominantly professional and skilled. So what if we need them? What if they want to go back to the office? What if we have opportunities for them? Let's get to know our new neighbors. In fact, I tried to invite one of my neighbors who works for Red Hat, 100% remote. She's an HR person. So functional people, IT people, all different kinds of professions, engineers, they're working remote right now for national companies. So just revisit, you know, is there anything that you could do differently with your remote work policies to satisfy the people who it's actually feasible to let them continue to work remote? And that's not true for everybody. Let's talk about the people who want to come back to the office. How long are you going to continue to do your safety protocols, et cetera? And I think it's really important for those that are returning to the office and love the collaboration and the human interaction that you are asking them, hey, do you feel safe here? Do you feel comfortable? Is there anything else that we need to be having around the office? I stopped buying the Clorox wipes. Do you want them back? So, you know, I think making sure that you're not only thinking about how to make the remote work for the people who can continue to do it and prefer that. Yes, you should do that. But also for the people, the half of the people that want to come back, how do we make sure that they feel comfortable and safe? Okay, 40% of people are not going to get vaccinated. So I'm certainly not going to stand up here and like speak out of turn from some medical perspective or even political, but I do think it is very important for us to acknowledge the fact that a lot of people aren't going to get vaccinated. They are at your office. So if you're having people back, you know, back to the safety protocols, if you've been doing deep cleanings or buying extra cleaning services or cleaning supplies, how long are you going to do that? And setting some kind of like internal trigger points or having regular meetings with your leadership team about those safety protocols. Number two, we're going to continue to see outbreaks. So I don't know how many of you have had to shut your offices down, but I've certainly been a part of, well, number one, I've got kids in daycare and school, and there are classrooms still getting shut down. So you're going to have talent that works on your team that's going to have to deal with kids at home. And then hopefully you won't deal with it, but half of us probably will. There's going to be outbreaks at work. So it's a great time to do kind of like an after action plan review. How'd it go down last time you had to close? Is there anything that you would have changed? So there's that about the vaccinations. And then thirdly, I want to say I get a lot of questions about, and I saw the recent insights about the mandatory vaccination policies. Everybody wants to know, can I make it mandatory? Can I make it mandatory? It's really, really hard. And I'm talking as an HR consultant here, right? Not an attorney, but it's really, really hard to make this mandatory when these vaccines are not fully FDA approved. And so, encouraging them, telling folks where to go out and find the vaccines, sharing the link to sign up at Walgreens or health department, that's all good. But right now it's really hard to make those policies to get vaccinated mandatory. And so when you can make them mandatory, I would strongly suggest that you consult with an employment attorney and kind of work through what does that look like for your organization, because it should be different for everybody probably in this room. And this is the one that I really, really love to talk about. When we're talking about people, we're talking about humans with emotions. And COVID, has shown us all that we really appreciate seeing one another. We had gone to a lot of breakfasts and a lot of luncheons and a lot of charity this and that and networking events after hours. But we realized that we missed them. And even beyond just the networking, our folks are telling us that the majority of them want to see us step up and talk about what a shared purpose means with our employees as employers. So what exactly does that mean? Well, I want you to consider a Gartner study that recently showed employers that actually take a public stance on a social issue get a 20% greater employee engagement rate. And I don't know who's familiar with Gartner, but it's a fabulous research firm. Additionally, another Gartner study showed if employers are willing to and show that they consider interest in somebody's personal life, family life, and community interests, they get a 20% greater return on productivity. And that's real money. That's outcomes that we care about as business owners, right? So, I would say as far as like taking action and stepping up and being public about a social issue, that is not like publishing like a Twitter statement on Women's History Month. That's great if you want to do that. Love that. But I would say get involved, take action, invite your folks to stuff, rather than just, and I know we've got a limited number of seats here, but rather than just inviting your senior leaders to the power breakfast, invite some new folks, invite some younger talent, invite an intern, get them involved. There's a lot of ways to get involved in this community. The Chamber of Commerce, Natalie's sitting in the back. If you're a member of the chamber, all of your employees are members of the chamber. Go to the events, get them involved. Wilma initiatives, the Run, the Leadership Institute. Get your folks involved in the community. Genesis Block. I've got Tracy and Gerard over here. There's opportunities to get involved with Genesis Block and entrepreneurs. And then of course, we've got the Smithsonian affiliated museum on Market Street. A lot of people don't know that they're affiliated. Get involved there. Science, technology, history. You can volunteer, advocate. And of course, we all love our non-for-profits in town. I want you to know the United Way of the Cape Fear area and Cape Fear Collective recently partnered up to start a website called Share Cape Fear, where you and your organizations can log on right now and sign up for unique volunteer opportunities that are right for you. So, I just want to say, before we start making these post-COVID workplace plans, consider the people who help us do our businesses and make our businesses successful. And let's think about our people first.